Hi guys, this is Daniel again, back for another video. In this video I just wanted to talk about the exact brain training methods that I used to gain 13 IQ points. So if you watch my first video, you'll know that I increased my IQ by 13 points doing this brain training alone. So since that time I've actually added new things to my routine. I've optimized my diet, I've optimized my lifestyle and multiple other factors to increase my IQ even beyond the 13 points that I've already gained. But the first 13 IQ points that I gained were entirely due to this brain training that I'm about to explain in this video. So the program that I use, it's called Brain Workshop. Now, Brain Workshop, it's just a program that allows you to train either dual NBAC or different types of NBAC. Now, there's hundreds of different programs you can use. This one is for laptop or PC. There's also app versions that you can use on your phone as well. So I do the training on a laptop, but you can use a PC, you can use a phone, you can use a tablet. It doesn't really matter what you use to do the training. I just prefer to do it on a laptop. So the program that I use, Brain Workshop, that's only available on PC or laptop. If you want to use your phone to do this training, then you'll have to find a different program. But they're all pretty much the same. So they all have pretty much the same functionality. So it's really just the settings that you have to get right, and then that's about it. So if you just type in Brain Workshop into Google, you'll find the exact program that I use to do this brain training. So it's just the top link here. So once you get into here, you can download this program onto your computer and you can start the training straight away. I recommend that you read most of the details here on the website because it will explain more about the training, how to do the training, but also a bit of the research that went into it, kind of proving out the concept. The research that proved that it is actually effective at increasing IQ. So you'll see here on the website, they do link to one study that you can read. There are heaps of other studies that have been done on this type of training. And from all the studies that I've read, about half of them show that there is a very strong benefit to doing this training, and half of the studies show no benefit. Now, the reason why I think that half the studies don't show the benefit is because the participants in the studies were likely not motivated to actually be increasing their IQ. Because these sort of studies, it's actually hard to find participants for them. Usually they go to a university and they pay them $50 or they give them some credit to some course that they're doing in order to participate in the study. And they aren't really motivated for the outcome of the study. So if they're not motivated to actually increase their IQ through this sort of training, or they assume that it won't work, then they won't increase their intelligence through this sort of training. So that's the major flaw in most of the studies on this sort of training that I've found anyway. So I think if you are highly motivated to increase your intelligence and you do this sort of training, you will see massive benefits. I've proven that for myself so far, and I recommend you try it and just find out for yourself. Now again, most of these programs that you'll find, they'll be called dual NBAC. So dual NBAC basically means dual, so it's two different variables that you're looking at, and NBAC means it's a number of positions back in time that you have to remember what those two variables were. So it's probably better if you just read this website and give the program a go and you'll figure it out very quickly. But the actual training I do is not dual NBAC. So the training I do is called quad NBAC. So it's basically the hard mode version of NBAC. So I'll just open the program now and I'll show you the settings that I use. So here's the program here, and these are the settings that I've got. So I actually haven't changed that much. All I've done is I've turned on image and audio. So now I've got 4 variables. So when I've got 4 variables turned on, it becomes quad NBAC. So dual NBAC would only be 2 variables, for example, position and color. So 2 different variables that you have to remember X number or N number of times back in time. It's a bit hard to explain. It's probably easy if you just try the program and you'll figure it out very quickly. So the reason that quad NBAC is far harder than dual NBAC, it's not just the extra number of variables. So it's not just 4 variables versus 2. It's also these variables are harder to remember. They're harder to store in your working memory. So what I've found from my own training and from the training of other friends that I've shown this program to is the position variable is always far easier than all other variables. And the position variable is always one of the 2 variables in dual NBAC. So if you're training dual NBAC, then one of the variables is very easy to remember and the other one is hard. So 50% of the variables in dual NBAC will always be easy. Whereas in quad NBAC, the position variable is only 1/4 of the 4 variables. So only 1/4 will be easy and 3/4 will be very hard. So quad NBAC is actually a lot harder than dual NBAC, not just because it has 4 variables instead of 2, but because those variables are harder to store in your working memory and therefore it's a much harder workout for your brain, and therefore much more beneficial. So I recommend just sticking to the basic settings. You don't really need to change anything else. If you want to do quad and back instead of dual and back, which is what I recommend, then just turn on these 4 variables. You can actually increase it to 5 or 6 variables, but I really don't see the point in that because, as you can see, the 5th variable is audio 2. That's just another audio, and the 6th one is called arithmetic. Basically, you have to solve small math problems as the variable. But I don't like that one because it's not the same with the other ones where it's a simple bit of information that you have to store in your working memory, because the arithmetic one kind of overpowers the other variables that you don't really end up training those other areas of the brain as much. And I'll just play this clip here of the training program and you'll see kind of what it looks like. So as you can see, an image is showing up in one of these squares. And now that image will be one of multiple different images, and it'll be one of multiple different colors. It will show up in one of these different positions, and if you listen, there'll be a sound as well. See, that one was a C sound. So with this sort of training, you have to remember, say this image here, it was a green T. You have to remember how many times ago that appeared. So I train it quad 7 back to quad 8 back. So that means that 7 to 8 images ago, I have to remember what position was that image in, what color was it, what image was it, and what sound came with it. And that 7 to 8 images ago. And as you can see, a new one appears every 2 seconds. So you have to constantly be remembering X number of images ago, what color was it, what image was it, what position was it in, what sound came with it. And then straight away, as soon as you remember that, you have to instantly forget it because you have to remember the next one that came in line. So basically, it's a constant stream of information into your working memory, and then you have to constantly, instantly delete that information and let the new information stream in. So it's a really intense workout for your working memory, and that's why it is so effective. This workout, I kind of liken it to going for a run or a sprint. So other sort of brain training games, they're kind of like going for a walk, you know. A walk is exercise, but it's not that good exercise. This sort of training is kind of like going for a sprint. You know, this will give you a real workout. You'll probably feel a headache after this sort of training, but that just means your brain is adapting. So what I've actually found is when I get a headache from this sort of training, that usually means I'm just about to go up a level in the training. So it means my brain is really trying to adapt to it. And then once that headache is gone, say a day or so later, then usually I've gone up a really good level in this sort of brain training program. So don't be worried if you get a headache doing this sort of training. That is just your brain really adapting to it and increasing in intelligence. And I'll just show you one more thing. So this is my progress graph. So as you can see, I started at quad 2 back, and it was actually a very sharp increase to around about 4 to 5 back, quad 4 to 5 back, and then it started grinding higher. So this is kind of trending in a logarithmic fashion. Now, it does sort of look like that I have maxed out most of the benefits so far. I've been doing this training for around about 3 years now. So as you can see, it is starting to flatten out. So it does look like I've already obtained most of the benefits from this sort of training. But I do think that I am actually about to have a level up at some time in the near future up to quad 9 back. So as you can see, I'd train between quad 8 back and quad 7 back on a regular basis, up and down in between that range. But yeah, I do think I'm overdue for a breakout into the quad 9 back range. Now, from the research I've done, the highest level I've ever seen anyone train at is quad 8 back. I've never seen anyone even mention a higher level than quad 8 back, and that's currently what I train at. So when I do reach quad 9 back, which will be soon, that will probably be the world record for this sort of training. So I'll keep you guys updated on this channel once I hit that record. But due to this kind of trend, the logarithmic trend of it, the benefits of this are definitely diminishing. So I'm actually looking at different methods of training that I can start to implement now to continue to increase my intelligence. I've already increased my intelligence beyond the 13 points I gained from this training. That 13 points was gained around about 1 year ago is when I tested my IQ and realized I'd gained 13 IQ points. Since that time, I've gained a fair bit more due to optimizing my diet and my lifestyle, certain nootropics, combined with this sort of training. But now I'm starting to experiment with other forms of training as well to really keep the increases going. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I'm on a mission to increase my intelligence basically to the maximum human limit. So if you're interested in seeing how I go, make sure to subscribe to this channel, follow along. I'll keep you updated with my progress.